Hello, everybody. This is Jamar, and I'm getting ready to head off to a interview I need to do at Hope Radio, which is going to be great at about noon, 12 o'clock today. But I wanted to address something that's really been on my mind lately, and I'm going to try not to get emotional about it because it's a really serious subject for me. And by the title, you read, "You're ugly, you're stupid, you're fat." And this message is for anyone that has ever felt the negative effects of being called a name or being verbally bullied, or there's something that happened in your childhood where somebody said something to you and it stuck with you your entire life. And it really is the reason why I wanted to do this recording today, because a few things have happened recently that I just feel that God has called me to share some things with all of you. For example, those of you, you may or may not know, but I did write a children's book called You're Ugly, and I'll talk about that book in a second. But let me tell you exactly why I wrote that particular book, because it's so different than what I normally do, which is sales and business and management and leadership and things of that nature. And the reason why I wrote it is because I was giving a talk to a group of professionals, and there were about 40 people in the room. And I was talking about how to change your life and how to do well in sales and management and leadership. And I told the story of this little boy that when he was 13 years old was called ugly. And for those of us that have ever experienced that moment in our lives where, for whatever reason, someone says something to us and it sticks with us. We can hear the same thing from 100 different people, but on that one particular day, at that one particular moment, someone says something and it sticks with you. They could have called you ugly or fat or stupid or big ears or whatever the case may be. And you start to internalize that and you think that you are that name that that person called you. And so I was talking to this group of professionals, and I was telling them the story of this little boy that gets called ugly and how it affected his entire life. And the story goes on to say some things that happened positively in his life as a result of understanding the power of his mind. And I won't get into the details of that, but at the end of this presentation, I had 10 people walk up to me. These were people that were in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and even 60s. And a few of them were crying. And they said, "Jamar, I thank you so much for sharing that story with me, because I've been dealing with being called a name as a child, stupid, ugly, fat, big nose, big ears, whatever the case may be. And this has affected my entire life." And it really kind of, on one hand, broke my heart, because I realized that there are so many people in this world that are dealing with the negative effects of being called a name as a child that has lived with them. On the other hand, I thought, man, this is something that so many people are dealing with. Maybe I can help. And within that same week, I don't watch a lot of news, but for whatever reason, I was watching the news that week, and they kept talking about stories of kids being verbally bullied or bullied at school and doing one of two things: either going back to school and committing heinous acts like Columbine and things like that, which broke my heart. And the second thing is that they retreat and they grow up as adults who are dealing with the negative effects of being called those names as a child. And I just felt compelled to do something about that. And so what I did was I wrote the story of this little boy that gets called ugly, and talks about his entire life growing up and how it affects his life. And at the end of the book, it has lessons for parents, 7 things that a parent can do to help instill confidence and self-esteem in their child, because I think that's so important today, to really build up our children, to build confidence, self-esteem. You all know I have a 14-year-old daughter, and I'm nervous every single day as to what is she going to hear? What is she going to watch on TV? What is she going to listen to that's going to make her lose confidence, lose her self-esteem, and grow up with regret and fear and all these negative emotions that shouldn't be there? And so the reason I wanted to break it down today is because if you're someone out there that is dealing with the effects of being called a name when you're a child and it's stuck with you for your entire life, I want to share a few things with you that I think can help. But there's 2 things that also happened recently that made me want to do this recording. Number one, a couple years ago, I was speaking to a friend of mine, and she was saying how she has a 14-year-old daughter, not daughter, 14-year-old goddaughter that was being bullied at school and had attempted to commit suicide. A very, very tragic story. And so I sent her my book, You're Ugly, the children's book, and I said, maybe it'll help. And a couple weeks later, she sent me an email back, and she said, "Jamar, she's doing better, and she's she loves your book, and she's going through therapy, and things have calmed down." And then literally a couple weeks ago, I get another email saying that this little girl kept being bullied, and she tried to commit suicide again. So it's definitely a very, very tragic story. And the other thing is, a friend of mine reached out to me on Facebook and said that she got this message from a random person that she hadn't connected with over the years, and somehow my name came up, and she said that she got a copy of the book and had read it and sent it to her, or gave it to her classroom for the kids to learn about how to really master the power of their minds. And so those things really compelled me to take a few minutes today and talk about a book that I really have never talked about that I wrote, which is called You're Ugly. And I want you to really focus on the picture here, because it's a picture of a little boy that looks in the mirror, and this is a handsome little boy, but he looks in the mirror and he sees an ugly face. And that's what can happen when you are negatively affected by the things people say to you. And that is that you believe what other people say, and you look in the mirror at yourself and you think that you're not worthy. You think that something's wrong with you. You think that you don't look the right way. You think that your ears are shaped funny, or your nose is shaped funny, and things like that. And so those are all the things that happen when we are affected by the negative things people say. And the old saying is, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words may never hurt me. That's absolutely false. I think words are much more detrimental than physical. When you're physically hurt, those scars heal. But when you're emotionally hurt, they can stick with you for your entire life. And so to really give you the synopsis of the book, what I talk about is that you can control the power of your mind. And sometimes we forget that. Sometimes we forget that regardless of what somebody says to us, regardless of what somebody does to us, guess what? It only has meaning, and it only has the effect that we allow it to have. And I know sometimes it's tough when you're in the moment dealing with something, but when you take a step back, you realize, wait a second here. Somebody can call me ugly or stupid or fat or whatever the case may be, but unless I believe it, it has no meaning. It has no value. And I wrote the book because I was compelled to share that message with kids, to help them understand at the youngest age possible how to control the power of their mind and how to understand the power of their mind so that they won't be affected by the negative things people say. Because as we all know, negative things happen all the time at the workplace, at the gym, with our friends or family. A lot of things can happen that are negative. And if we don't understand that we actually have the power over our minds to really affect the result of what people say, then we can go on and live with regret and this hurt and this pain our entire lives. And so what I want you to do, if you're compelled to do so, if you're somebody that's dealing with something as an adult and you were called a name as a child and you're still dealing with the negative effects of it, you don't have to just read this book, because there's numerous books out there. But, talk to people, read books and understand concepts that teach you how to understand the power of your mind so that you're not affected by the negative things that people can say or that people can do. And I see a message. And I see Scott High, and I see people chiming in. I'm trying to look at the camera and not go to my left a little bit, but I thank everybody for tuning in. I also want to leave you with one other thing that's really important. And this is something, it's a positive affirmation I want to give to you today, that if you say this to yourself 10 times each morning and 10 times each night, and if you share this with your child, I guarantee you'll start to have a different result in terms of the effects of the negative things people may say to you. And that affirmation is, no matter what you say or do to me, I am still a worthwhile person. Let me say it again. No matter what you say or do to me, I am still a worthwhile person. Let's say it again. No matter what you say or do to me, I am still a worthwhile person. And if you're brave enough right now, I can't see you, but wherever you are, on the count of 3, I want you to say that. And I want you to feel the different emotion that you have as a result, because that statement is absolutely true. So on the count of 3, let's say it together, those of you that are so inclined. 1, 2, 3. No matter what you say or do to me, I am still a worthwhile person. One more time. No matter what you say or do to me, I am still a worthwhile person. And so what I wanted to do this morning, before I head off to do this radio show I need to do, I wanted to take a second to share that with you, because I just felt compelled to share that, because there's so many people out there. I just feel it. It's making me chip a little bit, but they're dealing with so much pain and hurt because of something that was said to them as a child that they're still dealing with. And they say that hurt people hurt other people. And adults that are feeling the pain of being affected by the negative comments somebody said as a child are, guess what, are really children that never had the tools and the resources and the power to understand their minds to deal with this, who are still dealing with it today. And so my peers that are in my age group, the millennials and the Generation X's and even the baby boomers, if you're dealing with the negative effects of something that was said to you years ago, I want you to know today that the affirmation that we just said, no matter what you say or do to me, I am still a worthwhile person, can help to change your life. And I hope that you read books that talk about the power of your mind. If you feel so inclined, you can pick up my children's book, You're Ugly, which talks about the power of that and has 7 things parents can do to help instill confidence and self-esteem in their children. But I want to thank you today, and I want you to really know the absolute power of your mind to affect your reality. And the last thing I'll say is this: you can change your history. What does that mean? You can't change the events of your past. You know, somebody called you a name, somebody hurt you. You can't change that event. You know, the event happened. But you can change the meaning of the event by changing your thought process about the event. You could look at the event as negative or positive. You could look at the event as something that was detrimental or something that compelled you to move forward and achieve things in life. And you absolutely have that power. Nobody else has that power. Nobody else has that control. You have the power. You have the control. You have the ability. And I want you to really take ownership of that today and feel good about that today, because you absolutely have that power to change your life, control your life, and make sure that you're not negatively affected by the things people say. So once again, thanks for breaking it down today. I appreciate it. It got a little bit emotional because I feel people's pain out there. And I just want these young kids to grow up with confidence and self-esteem. And I think about my daughter each and every single day, and there's nothing more that I want for her and her friends and for the young people to grow up with confidence and self-esteem, because I see it being challenged and attacked every single day. And if they don't understand the power of their minds, I'm fearful that they can go down the wrong path in life. And I know everyone watching this Facebook Live and all my friends and family and people out there that I know and I love, we have the same passion for making sure that our children grow up and reach their potential, that they grow and they succeed. But a lot of it is going to depend on how we set the example. And so if we're somebody who was a child that experienced that, we can set a new example today by understanding the power of our minds and changing the reality of how we feel about ourselves, and then share that with our children, with our neighbors, with our friends, with the kids that we coach and mentor, with the students that we teach if we're a teacher, to help them do the exact same thing. So with that said, I know there's so many comments, and I apologize I didn't get to them. I was trying to stay, focus on the message, but thanks for the comments. I'll look at them. I'm going to reply. But if you feel really good about this message today, then please share it with other people, because I want to get the word out so that everyone understands the power of their minds, especially children that are affected by negative comments, especially the adults that are dealing with the effects of a negative comment that was said to them as a child. So the last thing I'll say is this: remember the affirmation: no matter what you say or do to me, I am still a worthwhile person. You are still a worthwhile person, no matter what anybody says or does to you. Remember that. You are a worthwhile person. Have a great day.